And I'm looking forward, to chill with the Chaplins on this afternoon.
That's a
Yeah.
very impressive resume.
Yeah,
Oh,
very.
wow.
Yes, yeah, very
It makes us
impressive.
think, what have we been doing all our lives?
And then in the midst of COVID, everything shot up.
First of all, the Moreland name is so prophetic. I
Yeah.
mean, like, what?
More
I
land,
mean,
yeah.
like, be expectant of
More
more.
land.
My wife always say, don't be getting ready, be ready. You have to be
Yes.
prepared for your next while you're in your now. I'm gonna say that again. You
Mm.
have to be
Say
prepared
that
for your
again. Don't
next.
don't go over that. Don't, come on, don't
Yes.
keep. That's what I like because he says so. We all can eat, and my thing is, I always say we all can win.
Mahatma Gandhi says, be the change you want to see. And you've done exactly that. I mean, I could listen to you all day.
Yes.
I mean, I'm just looking at all the wisdom that you
Yes.
have, let alone the
Thank you.
experiences. It's incredible.
Cash is king, but credit is
Right.
free. Welcome to Real People Keeping It Real. Yes, another video. We have a special guest on today. I'm glad to introduce this wonderful guest that we have. He's part of a fellowship. We both are part of a fellowship together, where this is where we met. And so this brother right here is doing big things.
No, he's doing big things.
Big things. He's doing big things. He into real estate. He have a daycare. Not only he a pastor, but he into all these different ventures. And so we just want him to come on this podcast so that he could give us some gains. So like I say, he's doing his thing. But guess what? He's real. And this is what we're about. Real people keeping it real. And like I said, we're gonna give you the game, we're gonna give you the flavor, cause that's what we do. We're about educating, we're about impacting and keeping it real. Yes, and
And
so
the best part is that Apostle, he's still going to introduce himself.
Yes.
He's not just a business person. He's not just a philanthropist.
Yes,
Ooh,
yes.
that word.
Right.
But he's also an academic.
Yes,
which
academic,
is
yes.
beautiful. So he combines all these three amazing elements together. So we're going to hear about that, and we're so excited to hear how he does it and balances all of that, because he's also a husband
yes,
and he's a
nothing-
father and a believer grandfather.
Yes.
Oh my God, it's a lot.
And he worked together with his wife.
beautiful wife,
It's a
absolutely.
partnership between them two. So hopefully, this episode you'll be able to learn a lot how he
Yes.
experienced all these different things. Building his business, building his church, building
The legacy.
the legacy. Keeping his
Yes.
family together. So hopefully you'll be able to learn something. Hopefully we can learn something.
No, it's not a hopeful.
We will learn something.
Yes.
So we gonna allow this great man of God to introduce himself, give a brief summary of who he what he do,
Yeah.
who he are,
Who he is.
who he is. Thank you,
Yeah.
sweetheart. I get caught up with the his and ours, but he gonna introduce who he is and what he about and what he do. So go ahead, Apostle.
All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Lawrence Boyd III. Let's see here. I do wear several hats on this big head of mine. I serve as the senior pastor of Chosen Generation Praise and Worship Center, located at 46-48 North Overbrook here in the city of Trenton. Next month will mark 15 years. I also serve as the executive director of a nonprofit called Help Self, where we run several programs ranging from before care, preschool, aftercare, summer care, also food pantry, as well as host various community activities. More so recently, my wife and I, we had started an LLC named Moreland 3 LLC, where we're venturing into real estate, buying properties, fixing up properties, renting out properties. And my next venture for this year is to open up a group home as well as to do intensive case management therapeutic services to the children and families here in the Mercer County area. I was born and raised here in the city of Trenton. I graduated from Trenton Central High School in 1998. For his educational background, I do have a bachelor's in sociology. I have two masters, one in psychology and one in special education. And I also hold a doctorate degree in biblical counseling and theology. And I'm looking forward, to chill with the chaplains on this afternoon.
That's a
Yes.
very impressive resume.
Yeah,
Oh,
very.
wow.
Yes,
it,
yes, very
it makes us
impressive.
think, what have we been doing all our lives? No, thank you so much for that. And
Yes.
it's a pleasure and an honor to have the opportunity to interview you. And I'm sure that many people will glean a lot and learn a lot from your
Mm,
experiences and what you're doing and what you're about to do. Very exciting stuff.
Yeah, yeah, and so I definitely interested in knowing more because I'm also an investor and still
mm,
learning, still getting into real estate, still looking to purchase my first house and invest in flip and flip, and so I definitely want to dig into that and see how what were the struggles, what were the challenges,
okay.
because I know how many doors do you have?
How many like homes you said?
Yeah, doors. Doors mean each apartment.
Oh, okay, okay. So we have a total of four properties outside
Okay.
of our main house, and we're in the process of closing on another property, so it'll be soon be five.
And is multifamily, single families?
All of them are single families currently. Our next venture is to venture into multifamilies, then into like a small apartment complex as well. So we're climbing up the ladder.
Yes, yes, yes. So how do you get your start? What? How do you get your start? What were your struggles?
Well, let me tell you this. I tell everybody this, whether it's church related, business related, or even personal related, you have to remain humble and teachable. A lot of times people think they know everything, and it doesn't make a difference to me how educated you are. Is always somebody else who may know an area, right, more than what you know. And so in the midst of us getting our home, we had an addition added onto our house, our personal house. And in the midst of doing that, I had a lot of opportunities to speak with a contractor, as well as the other contractors and so on. And his name is Andre Wilms. I always give him a shout out. He was the one who literally walked me step by step to get in our preschool and our learning center up to speed. He owns a preschool here and he does contractor work and everything like that. And so he took me on this venture, and we went through this venture, and we're still on this journey together. And he haven't left my side. He's connected me with other people as well. And so when we got into the real estate piece, he was saying, you guys should just add on to your house. He was going to move and buy a bigger house. And he said, you got all of this land here. Why do that? And so after we thought about it a little bit, and then in the midst of COVID, everything shot up. A house that would usually cost, say, 200,000 here in the Mercer County area is now costing 450 or more. And so he said, you have all of this space. We can, build on and give you the additional space, and it'll still be cheaper. And so I said, okay, well, this is what you do. You helped us with our preschool, so I'm going to trust you with this process. And so they did just that. They literally did just that. And so from there, we begin to dive into more into the real estate. So when we purchased our first rental property, we didn't know any better. We put it in our name, like most people do. And so he said, we got ready to purchase our second one. He said, you really need to start an LLC. And I've heard about an LLC. I have family and friends who have LLCs, but I never heard it at the level of doing real estate. And so, once again, that humbleness and ability to be taught had to kick in, because this is what he does, on top of running preschools. And so we had many, many conversations and still have many, many conversations. And it worked out so awesome that back in November of last year, just literally last year, we established an LLC, Moreland 3 LLC. And When we purchased the second property, we put it underneath Moreland 3 LLC. And we were just like so proud of like, okay, that's another accomplishment. And, we're fine. We're good right here. We have two properties and, we're fine. And the Lord just kept on saying, it's more. It's more land. It's more land for y'all. It's something bigger coming and everything like that. Take the limits off. And so we took the limits off, resulting in us this year we ended up closing on our new church property on
Mm-hmm.
in January of this year. And once again, you just think, okay, God, thank you for what you've done, thank you for what you're doing, and thank you for what you're about to do. And God just kept on saying, no, it's still yet more land. And the unique story behind Moreland 3 is this: my grandparents on my father's side, they owned a home on Moreland Avenue here in the city.
Mm.
Many generations later, now my aunt owns that home. Still an active family home and everything like that. And I'm the third generation of Lawrence on my father's side. And on my grandmother's
Hence
side,
the
that,
name.
say
Hence
that
the
again?
name. Hence the
Yeah, yeah,
name.
his name, right, right, right. And so on my mother's side, my grandparents' house, that sort of was the spill for the learning center. We wanted to have everything that I ever got from my grandparents' house, advice, money, education, someone to watch us before my mom or dad went to work and so on like that. If you needed a place to live, everything you needed was there at my grandparents' house. So that's what our learning center has been based upon. And so to have the notion to have something based upon or have some legacy, behind the scene legacy from both my grandparents' side of the family, it was just awesome and amazing. So when Moreland 3 came into play, we have a young family, a young boy who's our godson now. We like literally said, listen, you're gonna be my godson. Because you are a blessing to us and to this ministry. And one Sunday morning, I was preaching and the Lord led me to do an altar call. And I called this young man up. I knew his first name because they had just started to come to the church with his grandmother, but I didn't know his last name. And so the Lord said, ask him his last name. And he said, Moreland.
Ooh.
And I said, wow,
Wow.
God has a strange way of doing confirmation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, long story short, I said, okay, God, you're still saying more land. And
More
so
land.
months go by, and this young boy, he's a praiser, he's a dancer, he's a worshiper, and all that tied up into one. And the joke is, wherever he dances, we acquire. And so literally, we just closed on another property. April the 28th is the house next door to the new church. And so one Sunday morning, I was led to have him to go out in the middle of service. And that's why you got to be led by God, because things may look strange, but if it's God led, it makes sense at the end of the day. And so in the middle of service, the Lord told me to take him outside, and we're live, so some stayed inside, some came outside, and to have him to dance on the property. And that was like, I think, the first Sunday of April, I believe it was. And lo and behold, 2 weeks later, we ended up signing a contract. We were away on vacation and we got the signed contract back from the owner. And then a week and a half later, we ended up closing, on that property. And even in that, God just kept on saying, it's something bigger. It's something bigger. This is not it. And so I said, well, Lord, once again, we're grateful for what you have done. Mind you, once again, this is all since October of last year
Wow.
that we have acquired, all of these properties. I don't even know how. I know it's God, but if I literally sit back and just say, well, how did a little old Trentonian, a young black boy who was sort of destined for either jail, gangs or drugs and so on, how did I achieve, and when I say I, of course I mean my wife too, but how did I achieve this great success um in this short period of time? And what I begin to reflect on is all the times I planted seeds in people's life, publicly, privately,
Yes.
and remembering the prayers that we prayed when we used to do full-plex food pantry. We would always get the food into the church, and we will put the food on the altar, and we will pray over the food. Lord, let whoever received this food let them be blessed. Let the children's, the elderly, let them be blessed that they have a meal, even if it is for 4 or 5 days, that they're blessed. And God said, I remembered all of those seeds that you planted, all of the times that you're not that pastor who sometimes when people get elevated, they feel as though, I'm gonna let this person do it. I'm a hands-on pastor. And what I mean by that is if the deacons can bag of food, me being the pastor, I can bag a bag of food because at the end of the day, it's about
Absolutely.
showing God's love. And
Mm.
God said, I remember, I took an account of all those times that you drove and dropped food off, not even just during COVID, but just over the years. And just the other day, just on Wednesday, I was led to do a live on Facebook. Don't be ashamed to own up to your harvest. And God was speaking to me even in that, this is our harvest season. I don't know how long it's going to last, right? But we had to be prepared for this harvest. And so we're grateful. And as we're venturing into these next two ventures of doing a group home as well as intensive case management, God has truly, truly been good to us. I was able to leave my full time job the end of last year. To run our program full time, which therefore allows me more opportunities to do things like this and to network with other people and create other long lasting connections and everything like that. So it's just a beautiful process. So stay tuned. We're not done yet.
Yes, yes. And you know, this is a beautiful thing. This is what we like because you're in the beginning stage of building your
Correct.
empire, you know. And
Hmm.
so, and when what the goal was with this interview process, and we want to interview people that's going through right now because we can actually take some steps. Because a lot of
Right.
times people be interviewed and they made it 10 years ago, and 10 years ago different from
Right.
today.
Right. Right.
15 years ago, even last year, different from today.
Hmm.
5 years ago, different from today. And you actually doing it today. You
Right.
actually give us some steps, some weaknesses, some struggle that you had to overcome. And so this is what I like about this journey, this process that you're going through. And I'm motivated. Let me know that it's possible.
Yes.
That's right.
That
It's
people
possible.
people still can buy houses, even though
Hmm.
we talk about inflation, we talk about market,
Hmm.
how the housing price is going up. But here's a brother who is bought 4 houses, 3 houses within the last 2 years, 2 years, right? Within the
No,
last
since
2 years.
October of last year.
It bought just a
Yeah.
Yes,
couple
yeah,
houses,
less than a
with
month.
last
I mean,
October,
less than a year.
less than a year, and we
Right.
look at the situation and we crying inflation. We crying there's no
Hmm.
money. We crying there's no jobs. We crying there's nothing. But and we just did a episode where this probably a month. This when this record the episode probably be out a month. It's about opportunity when opportunity knocks, but you have to answer.
Hmm. Right.
And that's what you're doing. You're answering the opportunity. You prepare yourself. You made the ways. And when God opened up the door for you, it dropped. It just. I
Right.
mean, the open, and you just felt in it. You just, took advantage of it. And I love the part you say you was a student. You were the student again. You was willing to
Hmm.
learn more, and that's what it's about. You want to
Right.
grow. I even teach. The more you learn, the more you grow, and you
That's
can't
right.
be afraid to keep learning. And so I want to ask you about real estate before we jump into, because I want to know the process of getting to the daycare and all
Hmm.
that kind of stuff. What was the process, the requirements, the certification that you
Right.
need. But what was your biggest like hiccups? What was your biggest challenge with real estate? What was like did you have any nightmare stories? Cause you got four houses, four single families. Do you have any tenant issues? Especially with we coming out of the memoranda order with the tenants they live for free.
Right.
Did you have anybody with a tenant's nightmare story? What was the nightmare story, or did you have any?
So that is so true. There's so much going on in the real estate world these days. I think that uh, the biggest challenge has been um, no horror stories with tenants, as they say, knock on wood. thank
Yes.
God.
Praise
But I
God.
think that the biggest challenge has been sometimes just really having bidding wars, or knowing what to buy or what not to buy, because sometimes you can look and do like different Google searches or go on different real estate listings, and some of the properties are just like, seriously, you're asking for 120. I know where y'all live it's kind of higher, but here is not, it's high. You ask for $125,000, but there's no roof on this house, like what are we doing here, type of situation. However, what I found out is in the midst of those challenges, that within reason, that is actually, more beneficial to buy homes that may need some work into it. And what I mean by that is, we recently purchased a house, and we got it for a nice fair price, really cheap in the area where it's at. It's a 4 bedroom. We did a rehab budget for this particular house, and the value of the house once the rehab work is completed, it will probably be about maybe $75,000 in profit if we decided to sell the home. And so as we're learning more, I'm understanding more of the process, how someone can sort of, get a home, use the equity, flip that home, have this one payment, now you have two homes, and so on, just keep on flipping until you get the number that you're satisfied, would. And that can be challenging, going through that process, doing it that way, or just going through the process of having the work being redone, remodeling, and everything like that. But as it stands, what I've learned to do is just sort of to privatize. So even like with the new work at the new home we're going to be getting done, we had the contractor go through and assess the property, and told me what needed to be done. And I said, well, no, let's do it in phases, because when you do stuff in phases, you can sort of prioritize what are the chronic issues, what needs to be done a little later, which you can sort of hold off on. And to me, I found it to be less stressful, doing it that way.
Yeah.
Just two things that I got from your share, previous share, is that first of all, the Moreland name is so prophetic. I
Yeah,
mean, like what?
More
I
land,
mean,
yeah.
yeah,
like be expectant of
More
more,
land, yeah.
yeah,
because
yes,
four properties is just nothing. You're just
Yes.
scraping the surface.
Yes.
God
right,
is about to open up more doors,
hmm,
because the name had to mean something.
Yes.
And
right,
secondly, you are definitely your ancestors' wildest dream. Like what?
yes. It's so
Like you
I'm like
said,
full of
like
stuff, I'm
a
full of
young
energy.
man, black
Young black
man,
man.
from Trenton,
Trenton.
New Jersey, who would have known? Who
Right.
would have known? So thank you for making us proud as black
Yes.
people,
Thank you.
and just shining the light that it is possible, black child. Because
Right.
most black people look down on themselves and say it's only for certain people. That's not
Correct.
true.
That's right.
Here's a young man, yes, young, who's made it with his wife,
Beautiful wife, yes.
both black and coming
Right.
from a middle class, but have made it. So thank you,
With
thank you with
degrees.
that. Well, minus the degrees. Forget the degrees.
Yes.
I mean,
Hmm.
because we're trying to speak to people who are also haven't been to school,
Yes.
but because we've seen success even in those people.
Yes. Yes.
What
Right.
I'm
Right.
saying is, he's showing us that it is possible. Just be
Hmm.
teachable. Just be coachable.
Right.
Be like he said. Have that sense of humility to be able to listen to somebody else, even
Yes.
though you because first of all, you know that you don't have the experience. If the person has experience and has done it, then come on, get close to the
That's
person
right.
and get
And
Hmm.
do
going.
it, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yes.
One thing too, his degrees is not what he's doing it.
No, absolutely
He
not.
was a teacher and sociology major and biblical, and what he's doing with business, that wasn't his degree. So let us know,
Right.
you could go to school for one day, but continue to learn, continue to grow. And one thing I liked how he collaborated with the contract, and that's how he got his start. And so another thing
Hmm.
I would like to know, what funds? How did you get your start with money? Because I know it takes money to get into real
Yeah.
estate. So how did you get
Right.
into the game with the funding? With credit and the
Right.
other people money. So what? How did you get your start in the real estate?
So anybody that really knows me know I'm like a real. I should have been in accounting, right? My late aunt, she was accounting for the state of New Jersey, and growing up, being around her, I had to sit with her many Saturdays at her home, and would have to use the old school calculator that had the white little roll up paper. And if we made an error or anything, we had to start all over
All over.
again. And once again, being humble and teachable, I didn't understand it, but I understand it now and what I do. And so, with that being said, I strongly encourage people, anybody, to make sure that they're working on maintaining a good credit score, as well as every year, request your free credit reports, because
Hmm.
sometimes things can be on your credit that you done paid off and has not been properly updated. There are some times where people who I know who had stuff on their credit, it wasn't their stuff, and it has affected their credit score. And so now we go to try to buy a home, or in some cases, in this case, try to buy some real estate. At first, you have to use you as the individual as you're trying to build up business credit and everything like that. So it sort of all works together. Like the word says, all things work together for your good. But if you have a good credit score, it's almost like your credit score is your cushion of money. So with us, it has been so profound, being as though we just started the Moreland 3 LLC back in October of last year. We didn't really have a lot of money, of course, in that account, right? And so whenever we had applied for the one loan, we had to use our personal um, credit score and income to have a backing. However, everything is in the LLC's name. Now, when we got into the second property going forward, we was able to use the equity from the first property as a down payment and so on, and it sort of went from there. So we didn't really have to kick out a lot of money out of our personal account through these transactions and everything like that. So that's how we got our start. But you have to make sure that you are maintaining good credit. Also, what I've learned, and just meeting and talking with Andre, is that if you are married, try to split the debt. So if you have your cars and say your wife's name and then some of the real estate loans in the husband's name, both names can be on the deed, right? But the financial responsibility is being divided. So if another opportunity presents itself, now if the house was, I don't know, $200,000, and that's say on my wife's credit, and now we say we want to go and buy another property for another $150,000. If both of our names are tied to that debt, now it's on both of our credit, so the debt to income ratio may be too high for us to get the next property. So just understanding simple strategies like that, how to
Hmm.
split the debt and the financial responsibilities, has really helped us to do what we have done so quickly over these last couple of months.
Yeah,
Very
that was
impressive.
yeah, very impressed. That's good.
One thing I know is that all need Andres in our lives, honestly.
Yes, we all need
That's why
Andres.
Right.
I'm a big advocate for mentors. People should
Hmm.
seek out and not be afraid
Right.
to say, "Can you mentor me?" Because
Exactly.
there's no shame in that. In fact, you learn a lot from that,
You do.
and it avoids you
Hmm.
into going to pitfalls that the person
Correct.
did go through. And if you get somebody really good who's not selfish, you can really, really climb up
You
very
can learn a
quickly and achieve
whole
a lot
lot,
in
and
a
I'm
short
so
time.
grateful.
We bless God for that.
Yes, yes. And so that's definitely good. And one thing I want to say about the credit score as well, because this is something I'm learning too. When you talk about the free credit report, when it's very
Hmm.
important to check your credit, because sometimes there can be some inaccuracy in your
Correct.
credit report
Hmm.
within the
Hmm.
three bevels, because these
Right.
three credit bevels, they separate entities,
Yeah.
Right.
and they won by computers and the algorithm. And so and because of that, sometimes certain creditors don't don't report accurate information to
Exactly.
each bevel, and so you have to make sure that each bevel is correct, because one inaccuracy can mess up your credit score as
That's
well.
Absolutely.
right.
So you gotta make sure everything's with your name, your address, as well as begin to take off old address. Begin to take
Right.
off old address where you
Hmm.
don't live at,
Hmm.
because all that stuff can affect you. Because if you got an address 10 years ago, and you got credit, and they look at that as well, especially if you have
Right.
bad credit score
Hmm.
with that address. They look at that. So you have to eliminate all these different things from your credit score, so that you can begin to, because a lot of these different changes, you can dramatically increase your credit score
Correct.
with the utilization keeping under the 10 to 30% of your
Right.
utilization.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, but I'm glad for this mentor of yours who teaching you the game, because we
Hmm.
all need that, and that's why we big on community. That's
Right.
why we big on
It's needed.
coaches,
Hmm.
because it's needed. Because like I said, and we can't be afraid to learn from others.
Yeah.
We gotta learn, like you said, we gotta have that humility. Be the Bible said, "Be humble as a dove,
That's
and
right.
wise as a serpent." So we
Hmm.
gotta be we gotta be humble. And so I like what you've been saying with the real estate side. Now we want to jump into a little bit about the strategies that took you to get to you know the learning center, the
Okay.
daycare, what's the certification, all these different things. We know about the real estate, how you got your start, uh, and enter real estate and still building. Cause I
Yeah.
believe that you're gonna get more doors. You working. I see.
Yeah.
And you know
Yeah.
what the Lord told me this in the beginning of the year. Right, and this my thing. That was the thing for the church. The year of the door,
Mm.
the year of the door. Those that this is the year that you got to start doing. You got
That's
God
right.
open up the doors for you, prepare the way for you, give you opportunity. But if you don't do it, if you don't begin to do it, you should wait on Him. Then it's
That's
not
right.
gonna happen. And you
Hmm.
working, and I like that about you. You working. So I want to know a little bit. You know, what did it take for you to start the learning center? What was your learning curve, and what was your challenges, and what you need to get started with the learning center? Because there might be someone that want to start a
Right.
daycare. There might be someone that may be working in the daycare. They gain some experience, and they feel like that's all they could do, and not knowing that you could start a daycare center, even start
Yeah,
in your
you
home.
can. You're right. Well, you definitely can. So I came from about maybe 20 something years of education experience at different levels, from um, preschool up to college level teaching. Um, and so we decided this would be our ninth year actually running programming. And so about 9 years ago, it's a Sunday after Mother's Day, we were just sitting around, and I'm usually off in the summertime from work, and I we were saying, what are we going to do, with the children, for this summer? And I'm like, well, I work with children all year long. I don't have time to be having, the children, for the 2 months that I'm off. We may need to think of some options here. And so literally what we did was we put a post on Facebook to see who else might be in this same situation, whether they work for schools or work for the state or work in other places in general, who needs summer care. Um, Figuring, it's late in the year. Most times summer camps start doing enrollment January, February. We're doing it the third Sunday of May. Figure we may get about maybe 10 other, children or whatever may have you. Instantaneously, I mean, we were getting responses underneath the post, reaching out, texting, calling, and we ended up servicing 47 children our
What?
first year.
Wow.
So
Amazing,
from the
amazing.
start, our mind was just really blown by that. And we were private pay, meaning that families paid out of their pocket. Now, the challenge with that is that, sometimes you have excuses. Well, my check got lost in the mail. They forgot my direct deposit. I got laid off. My hours got cut. Oh, I got this bill that came up. And so you work through those process, and you live, you learn. So for about maybe 5.5 years, we were private pay. So we did summer camp for about 2 years. And then the family started to ask for after school program. And we're like, well, we have to go to the drawing board to see, how can we implement this? Kind of makes sense. We got you for the summertime. We might as well keep you, for after school program. So we ended up venturing into after school programming. And then finally, I said, we need to go through the process to become a licensed child care center. So we started the process back in 2019. We were at the tail end of the process, and then schools got shut down, and so we're still private pay though. So which means if schools are shut down, like we don't have no income coming in, like that. We did have some grant funding during that period of time. We were in a 3-year program, Forever Forward program, with the Smith Family Foundation. And so we did have some grant funding that they allowed us to sort of, flex those funding. So we were like, okay, we're fine. We'll just figure out what we can do, some online learning and delivering some meals and everything like that, and, work out the situation. So we proceeded on to do that, thinking it's going to be maybe 2 weeks. I was in the building one day, and at the time, our church and our learning center were sharing the space. I literally stopped in front of the pulpit area, and I just heard the Lord said, feed the families. At the time, we had 30 families. He said, feed the families. And I'm looking around like, well, Lord, it's just you and I here in this building, and I know I'm not going crazy. And I said, well, Lord, you're telling me to feed the families. And then he said, feed the families and take $25 off of the tuition for the rest of March. And I said, well, Lord, once again, it's just you and I here in this building. You want me to feed the families, put together a food package for 30 families, and take $25 off. We're private pay. But God, because I know it's you, because I'm not crazy and it's nobody else in this building, I will obey your voice. And I truly believe that me obeying the voice of God in that moment of what was unknown of the next step type of situation, has allowed us to not only feed people, not only to clothe people and to do virtual lessons and everything like that, but in the midst of that, it gave us lasting collaboration. So, in the midst of us going out feeding people, and sometimes, people say they don't want to post things on social media, right? However, McDonald's, they advertise. Um, Feed the children, they advertise in worse conditions and so on like that. But of course, with the approval of the people, we share the stuff because people are looking for ways they can partner, they can donate, they can volunteer, because one person cannot do it all. And thank God we were obedient, because in the midst of that, I got a phone call from a worker from the Y, right? And we don't know. And I always tell the church, tell people in general, God will put your name in some people's mouth and
Come
spirit and
on.
mind that will
Yes.
help shift you to the next level. And like
Mm.
Pastor said, you have to be prepared. My wife always say, don't be getting ready, be ready. You have to be
Yes.
prepared for your next while you're in your now. I'm gonna say that again. You
Mm.
have to be
Ah, say
prepared
that
for your
again.
next
Take your
Don't
time.
go over that.
Yeah.
Don't, come on, don't.
no,
Yes.
You just
while you're in
said.
your now. And the crazy part is because God, like you said, God will open up a window of time, right? And so the young lady called me and she said, I see you guys are doing these feedings and everything like that. We have this program where we got a grant, the Y got a grant, and we want to know like if you can give out meals on our behalf and we can work together as
Oh
collaboration.
wow.
And I'm like, sure, because at this time, even though the schools were giving out meals, a lot of children and families didn't have cars. So you got to walk and stand in a line. So we can go to the housing project outside of our building to senior high rise, people that can't get out, and bring them food, every single day. So we connected with the YMCA during this process. And we were serving 375 meals a week,
Wow.
every single week, for about maybe 4 or 5 months in the midst of the pandemic. And so doing that, when everything got opened back up, the Y said we would love to continue this collaboration. Now this is in 2020. We're now in 2023. The Y through their grant that they received, right, a collaboration, they provide all of our meals for our preschool, breakfast, lunch, and snack. They provide a dinner meal as well as a snack for our after school program students. And then for all of our summer camp students, they do the same thing. And so God will sometimes put you in a sticky or a crazy situation just to test your faith to say, what, you're still going through the process and there's going to be some challenges, but you'll get through it if you stay with me because I'm going to stay with
Mm.
you. And so I think and I praise God that I did that. And so COVID sort of died down or whatever may have you. And so we've been open up since July of 2020, all day Monday through Friday, 7 to 5:30. The staff has been great, the children and the families have been great, and we're just literally pressing on. And now, like I said, I wear many, many hats, and it's really to God be the glory. But I'm owning up to this ability that God has given to me. Now I'm still being mentor, and now I have some mentees. So I'm helping about maybe four other churches here in the area to get their summer camp up and running and so on like that because there's so many children that need care, and some I'm
Yes.
working on helping them get and become a licensed child care center and everything like that. And so our thing is the knowledge that we know, we don't mind sharing it with people because it's enough children in the city that every program can be jam packed and everybody can eat at the end of the day. So we're grateful, for the opportunity, and we're looking forward to partner up with other organizations and churches and so on, and really to get the job done throughout the city and really spread this same model through the nation. That is okay to have your business, and it's also okay to partner with other people and to help those avoid some of the pitfalls that you might have had to do because sometimes people venture into these journeys and they don't have the experience. So with me,
Yes.
I was blessed because in my role in my last role working in Head Start, I was the one doing the state paperwork. I knew how to do the summer camp paperwork by running programs for Boys and Girls Club and CYO, but to do it as a licensed child care center, I had that experience. So to do it, like right now, we're in the process of being our license being renewal. So it's like, okay, boom, 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 boom. Whereas somebody else that's getting the start, it is completely stressful because there's a lot of stuff you got to do, but if you already been through the process and know the steps and what to do, it's easier. So I'm more than willing to help people, whether you're here. I don't know too much about other states, but if you're here in the state of New Jersey, I'm available. You can reach out, text me, Facebook me, whatever may have you. We can get the job done.
Yes, yes, I like that.
And I think that's what I love about the Boyds is that you are not selfish. You share your expertise, you share your
You have to
experience,
be right.
and that is why God has blessed you so much and continue to bless you. And I love the humble beginnings of saying, you know what, we don't even mind collaborating, even if you
Right.
look good. But we know that God is doing this for a certain
Hmm.
reason. And look at
Right.
it now. A couple of years later, you don't even have to go around looking for grants to feed the
Right.
children all the programs because you agreed to collab in a way that you
Correct.
weren't really benefiting, to be honest. But you saw the bigger picture and said, hey, let's go
Hmm.
for it. And we
Hmm.
just we are so encouraged by that,
Yes.
that
Yeah.
don't look at the now, because I think that's what most people do. We're very narrow minded. We look at the now
Right.
and not look at the bigger picture. What could this
Hmm.
bring in for me, and the projects that I'm doing? So that's a great insight. Yeah.
Yes, yes, it is a great insight, and that's what I like because he says so we all can eat. And my thing is, I always say we all can win. It
Yes.
doesn't
Hmm.
matter,
Right.
who we are, and because we got to change this mentality that we know this crab mentality,
Yeah.
Right.
put us down syndrome. We don't want to support. We feel like because we feel like, oh, I'm not gonna help you win, and not
Hmm.
realizing if you
Hmm.
help that person win, guess what? Eventually you can win because
That's
your
right.
blessing could come in another avenue,
Right.
and you can't be afraid to share and support and collaborate, because when you don't limit yourself,
Hmm.
more opportunity to come your way, more
Right.
ideas to come your way. And I like this because one time I heard John Maxwell say, he said, I'm not afraid to give people an idea. I'm not afraid to tell them about my books. Why? Because I believe that's not my only idea. The
Right.
same way how I got that idea, if you want to take
Yep.
it, oh well,
Yep.
I got
Yep.
another
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
you. Guess what? Because I know ideas is limited. Why? Because especially when we serve a God that had billions of ideas.
Right. Right. That is so true. And I
Yeah, we.
I I was just thinking as you were talking, um, one of my childhood friends, we grew up in the same church, got saved, filled with the Holy Ghost in the same church. He recently became the pastor of the church, the fourth pastor of the church, still here in the city of Trenton. And he's one of the churches that I'm working with to help get their summer camp open up. The original pastor had a school there, um, but it shut down for various reasons. And now he's revamping it and they're going through the process. And it's so amazing because our families grew up and still, love on each other and everything like that. And we had wanted to do a baptism, and so they have a baptism pool. And so about maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, it was such an honor to baptize, some of the saints in the same baptism pool that I got baptized in at 9 years old. you know, and it was just so
Full
amazing,
circle.
such an amazing, amazing feeling of great joy. And the funny thing is this, right? I always tell people you never know who knows somebody. So
Oh yes.
my mother was talking to one of her childhood friends and saying, after work, I have to go to we're having a baptism tonight. And so the lady said, well, I'm going to a baptism too tonight. She said, we may be at the same one. Just joking, laughing, whatever may have you. And so we pull up to the church, and I said, now, oh, so they're here, but I didn't know the previous conversation to after the fact. And so when mom got there, I said, Mom, I said, all of the Thompsons are here, which was my grandparents' neighbor for 63 years. Many
Wow.
generations we grew up with around each other. And so go in, and the same young boy, he has a sister, but the same young boy, uh, Moreland is his last name. His father family is the Thompson family, who was my grandparents' neighbor for 63 years. And so he said, this is my dad. I said, this your father? I said, I knew your father since he was a little boy, like
Look
that.
at
Like
that.
he's like the third generation after me. And so it was like a whole little family reunion at the baptism. And that's what God does. God will allow you to go all the way full circle back to your humble beginnings. And it really did something to all of us. I mean, it was such a joyous occasion, even in the midst of the baptism, to let people know, that when you're good to people, they remember you. Whether you don't see them, life sometimes take people to different cities and different states and so on, but love brings them back together. And whether it's 5 years, 10 years that we might have spoken to some, it was as though we just talked to them last night. And that's what love does. And that's really our goal across our church, across our business, across the LLC, is just really to spread the love of God throughout the nation. And I really believe that if more people will understand that it ain't about, trying to get somebody else's children to fill up our center, because our center is beyond full. We have a waiting list, and we still have a whole elementary school, not even a 5-minute walk from our building, and we can't take any more children. So the spread the love is, as these other people who are in close proximity are starting their programming. Okay, y'all calling us because y'all know us, but I have this great friend of mine who's excellent, just like us. Let me refer y'all over to them, and you're going to have the same treatment. And I can't do that for everybody, but I can stand on, the wisdom and the knowledge and the integrity of certain people, especially who I call friends or brothers and stuff like that. So it just boils down once again to that being humble and being teachable, and in most cases still yet being reachable and connected to the community. And that's one of the ways that we found our humble beginnings and our humble blessings. And one of our children had asked me at the program the other day. She said, they called me Mr. Bishop, and so she said, Mr. Bishop, how do you have so many cars, so many nice cars like that? And I said, well, I work hard. I said, I work hard, day in and day out. And, this is something that I like cars and trucks. And I said, Now that I know that, being a little older, I said, you will understand that. You're understanding that principle younger than I understood it. So guess what? You can achieve more things than I have achieved at a younger age because we're teaching you, along with your parents and so on, like that, the importance of financial literacy and saving money and credit. I said, I didn't know all of those things. So now y'all are learning this at 8 and 9, coming to this program, and the importance of school and the importance of being respectful. Even though we understood respect and good grades, but most times in my day and time, we didn't learn about credit management
Credit.
and the
Yeah,
importance
yeah.
of credit. So to have them to see that and let them know that you don't have to be a drug dealer, you don't have to be a rapper, in order to acquire nice things. You can start from the ground up and you can achieve it just like I have achieved it. So it gives me great joy just to see the children, seeing, and sometimes children see stuff and they don't talk about it, but to feel comfortable to ask, those questions. So it was just really, really great.
And that's the thing, children, they are watching every
Right.
step. And then
Mm-hmm.
you wonder why, when children do certain things, and you think, where did they get that from? It's
Exactly.
always a matter of they saw it from someone or
Somewhere.
somewhere. And it's
Mm-hmm.
always
Mm-hmm.
good to be a good example, knowing that when they look up to you, they're like, I want to be like, what do they call you, Mr.
Mr.
Bishop?
Bishop.
I want to be like Mr. Bishop one day. That's so, so, so inspirational. And, and,
Yeah.
and that's what we all aspire to be, like
Mm-hmm.
good role models without saying a word, but just by our
Exactly.
Example,
actions.
example.
Yeah, yes.
Yes.
Example, right.
Yeah, and I do want to ask you, what was the certification you needed to get the daycare started?
Okay. So it depends, right? So I'll take it from, I'll say, like the beginning
Because
to
I
the
know
end.
different
So
cities is different as well.
Yeah. Different
right.
Different
states.
So
states.
here in New Jersey, if you want to become a registered home provider, that means you're providing childcare services inside of your home. You still can get reimbursed through the subsidy programs.
Oh.
However, the rate is a little bit lower, but
Lower.
once again, it's in your home. Um, and those just require you to take some courses at the local childcare connection office. It also requires you to do like your fingerprint and your criminal background check and everything like that. And then just have so many hours of um, classroom management, depending on if you don't have a degree in that area or not. So that's a little cut and dry. When you come into a learning center, that's whenever the whole can of worms begin to open up. And so with that, you have to get stuff done from the state, through DEP. You had to get your environmental check, your soil checked. There
Even
are certain
soil?
criteria. Yeah, yes. You have to get
Wow.
the soil checked. If there were certain businesses there before, you most likely won't be able to have it as a licensed center. So, like if it was like a funeral home, um, and they had certain chemicals or something of that nature, if it was like a auto body shop and they had like underground wells and stuff like that, draining wells, they don't let you do it. So there are certain criteria that way. You have to get your paint tested for lead, your water tested, tested for asbestos. Once you do all of that and that's all cleared, and then you have to apply for your safe building cert through the Department of Health. And this is all on top of the regular license that the state require. This is all part of the process of that. Um, the carry check, which is like criminal background check, as well as the child abuse check for your staff. Let's see what else. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. So once you get all of those certifications, and then the city they comes out, they do their inspection. If everything goes well with I'm sorry, you have to have a fire alarm system too, a monitoring fire alarm system. If it get turned off, because you didn't pay the monitoring fee, the state marshal will be there and will close you down that same day. Um,
Mm.
they don't play about that when it
They
comes to
don't play.
children. So you have to get a monitoring fire alarm system, and once they come out, the plumbing, the fire, the building, and the electrical inspector, they'll give you a CO for that facility You therefore submit all that to the state, and then the state licensure inspector, they'll come out, do the walkthrough, and then that's when they'll officially open you up in order to be a licensed child care center. However, before you do all of this process, you can ask for a courtesy inspection from the state to see, okay, how many children fit inside of this space. Because sometimes you have a space, right? And it might not be worth going through all of this because this stuff is expensive, to get done. When we did our environmental, it's about close to $5,000. When we did our fire alarm system on the first floor, is about $8,000. When we did the lead testing, the asbestos testing, the water testing, about maybe $3,000. So those thousands of dollars begin to add up. You got to
And
have emergency exit signs. If you're working with little babies, you have to have a fire sprinkler system. So it's different criteria, and those numbers do add up quickly. And so I always encourage people to do a courtesy inspection. It's free. Just set the appointment up through the local office of licensing. They'll schedule you to come out. They'll let you know, well, in this space you can get 10 children. In this space you can get 5 children. And if that's not big enough to meet your need, you may not want to go through all that other process to get that building, licensed. But it's a lengthy process depending on the building that you currently may own or you may desire to rent. So it can be challenging. That whole process really can be challenging, like I said. And we did ours in the midst of COVID. So a week appointment to get the inspectors took several months because
mm,
some were working on rotating schedules, and so this one come out and it's like, oh well, this person is out here for the next 2 or 3 weeks inside the building. They got other things going on. So it was kind of challenging, but we were grateful that we went through the process, and now we serve a total of 44 children over the span of before care, preschool, and after care. So it was well worth it. It was well worth it to go through the process. And sometimes you got to take a little break from the process and regroup, but don't stop in the middle of the process, because the end result with us, it has definitely been a blessing. And with us buying the other building there on North Overbrook, it affords us space for summer camp to house some of our students there at that location too. So we'll be having 2 locations starting this coming summer for summer camp. And then eventually we're going to go through the process all over again at that building, on a new building, to get that building licensed as a child care center. Once again, just scoping. I forgot the scripture that talks about that. Just scoping the land, scoping the environment. And that
mm-hmm.
area is 2 elementary schools that do not have any before care or after care. Once again, we can't serve the whole school, but if we can serve 30 children, 40 children, it opens up more job opportunities for the community. And when you have more job opportunities, oftentimes crime level goes down. So many different, positive side effects from people opening up businesses in the urban setting. So we're grateful that we're still able to do our part 9 years later in counting.
Yes, we're grateful for that for you as well.
Wow,
Yes,
that's that. I mean, I could listen to you all day. I
yes,
mean,
Oh,
I'm just looking at all the wisdom that you
yes.
have, let
oh,
alone the
thank you.
experiences. It's incredible. And, just to learn from people like yourself who are just an open book,
Mm-hmm.
literally. Because, like you said something earlier, which was profound. Like people say, when you're posting on Facebook, you're kind of showing off. You're not, because
Right.
that's what marketing is about.
Exactly.
You wouldn't be able to attract certain sponsors and
Correct.
collaborations if you don't show what you're doing.
That's right.
And that's why I mean with us, we are more into the podcasting, the speaker, the authoring,
Entrepreneurship
sector.
courses.
And people are like,
Hmm.
but they just love being on social media. No, but that's where that's where we're supposed to go. Because
Right.
if you're
Hmm.
doing it
Hmm.
behind closed doors, who would know that you're a
Right.
podcaster? Who would know that you're a speaker, an author, etc.? And so I just want to encourage people out there: don't be afraid to show God's blessings on your
That's
life,
right.
first of all, and don't be afraid to market yourself so that you may be able to attract people. I mean, first of all,
Hmm.
we met online. Something like for me as an African girl was like looked, it's still looked upon as taboo. Like what? So you
Hmm.
actually went out to look for men online, you know,
Right,
that
right,
kind of
right,
stuff.
right.
But if you understand the you know the thinking around it, just like when you're marketing, you got to put yourself out there in order to be able to
Correct.
get the fish.
Correct.
Otherwise, nobody would know
Yeah,
that
no,
you're
no, no,
looking,
yeah.
right? So that's so encouraging. Anything you want to say?
Yeah, nah, that was I love the points, you know. So, one thing about the CEO, the challenges. Man, this conversation. I think this gonna be a good episode. I think this gonna go
So much in
Oh,
so
it.
much. Yeah, so much in it. I think it's gonna do very well because you're giving a lot of gems
Yeah.
about the real estate, about the having a learning center, all the different things. And I do know about the daycare because my mom's did have a daycare from in her home, so I do know a little bit about the process because I
hmm.
even seen her go through
Right.
training. You know, they come into a house to inspect it every
Yes,
year. She gonna
yes,
have an
yes.
inspection
Hmm.
every year. They doing an inspection, so I know a little bit of it. And and also I know me and my sister was gonna go through the to get a learning center in Jersey City where we went through the class and everything, and we know a little bit, but we didn't go for it. We
I guess because
stopped.
you were scared of the tedious process. But what I love about what you said is that
Yeah.
you can do it in chunks.
Yes.
Don't be
Correct.
overwhelmed by the whole process
Right.
and then you stop. Do it in little bits and pieces. And so
Hmm.
nobody said you have to do it within a year, or
Yes.
it could take whatever as long as you finish the process.
Well, you finish.
And you can
Right.
start in your home. Gain the benefits.
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, not the benefits. Well,
The
the benefits as well, because there's
Yeah,
benefits there,
experience and
but
benefits.
also the
Hmm.
experience
Right.
and while you're working on the bigger picture. So people mustn't be turned off about, oh my God, how will I even go through soil? Because that blew me off. I mean, I'm a former health inspector, so I'm like, what, soil? Because I know
Yes.
how much
Soil.
that go.
Soil. Yes.
And there's a
Yes.
lot that goes into that.
Hmm.
But then people should not be turned off. If you can do it, anybody can do it. It's
Right.
possible. It's doable.
yes,
And
and
that's
it,
the
and
whole thing. Oh, no, go ahead.
God,
Go
no,
ahead.
again.
I would say that's the whole thing because sometimes I think you said it earlier that people, see the bigger picture and people sometimes don't be transparent with the process
Yes.
because it can be a lot. It can definitely be a lot. The process is a lot. And like I said, we did it in the midst of COVID. But once again, as we were talking, I was just thinking back a little bit further. What I forgot to mention too was now when schools ended up shutting down for the whole school year, the governor here in Jersey ended up issuing emergency subsidy for the families who didn't qualify for the regular subsidy program. And we didn't know, like I said, it's going to be that long. And so from September through June, the families in our program that was paying out of pocket, they didn't have to pay anything out of pocket because we wasn't being greedy and still not. Whatever the subsidy pay us, we accepted as payment in full. And so we had students in our program that the emergency subsidy program covered from September all the way to June. Now, mind you, if we did not, if going back to that March, when God told me to take $25 off
Mm-hmm.
and to take and feed these 30 families, and I'm saying, well, Lord, that's what, $750. That's a whole lot right there on a private pay budget. But because I was willing to sacrifice that $750, God has blessed us, I mean, over and over and over again, with more resources and connections, just by going through that process and obeying God's voice. And so one of the requirements for the emergency subsidy or subsidy in general through the school year, you have to be a licensed child care or a registered home care provider. And because we had that, we were able to get those additional funds, per student. And like I said, we were serving like 30 something children, and it allowed people to come in. I was working part time for after school. It allowed them to come in and work full time, retirees and so on. So everybody, was just blessed. The families were blessed. They were able to go to work. and the children were safe and they were fed and protected, and we still kept them separated. We were still using, masks and going through all of those strategies, kept children in the same room, follow all of the state requirements during the midst of COVID. And thanks be to God, we have not had to shut down. Once we open back up in July of 2020, we have been open up Monday through Friday, up until this present day. So God has been good and God has been gracious to us, and we're so grateful, like I said, for all the opportunities, all the many blessings, but we're more so excited for what God is about to do, because we know that there's something bigger than what we have, that's coming down the pipe. So we're just working. We're not just sitting still, but we're proceeding on working and tilling the ground and planting more seeds and just believing God for something bigger. And then of course for more land as well. So we're grateful for the opportunity.
Somebody would say, but Mr. Bishop, you do so much. When do you find the time to balance it all? Because I mean, we see
That's a
you
good question.
on social media also going on
Yeah.
vacation with your wife. I mean, like multiple vacations a year. And
Yes.
like, when do you all find this balance being a father, wife? I mean, not a wife, sorry,
Husband,
husband,
business owner, pastor.
all of the above, and you're
you know,
still able to still be there for your wife and your
right.
family. How do you balance it out?
It
Because
literally
balance is
takes
everything.
it takes strong balance. And prior to the end of last year, I was working a full-time job
Wow.
too, so, and had 11 staff underneath me at my full-time job. So
Wow.
it was a lot, but it definitely takes a strong team. My staff, our staff, are beyond incredible. I mean, beyond incredible. I would have not been able to stay at my full time job, and still, even when I left my full time job, right, I gave them a 30-day notice. Um, they knew I was leaving by the end of the year, but I gave them a 30-day notice, just, for processing sake. That you can find a sub, give you extra 2 weeks. I had a great evaluation about a week before I ended up leaving, and everything like that. So my job performance never declined; it rather increased even at my full time job. And so, with that being said, it took and is still taking for me to have an awesome, incredible, spectacular group of workers who work hard, with the children. Um, how I sort of describe it, I put my time in. And I don't mean that in a high minded mentality. I put my time in for the first 5 to 6 years, where I was the one, because we didn't have the money, right, to bring in extra staff. So I had to be one of the workers, helping with the homework every day, by not by choice. I mean, yeah, by force, not by choice. Where now I have a choice if I want to come out of my office to assist, the children with homework, because we have so many staff. And even the state say, you have so many staff for so less children. And I said, that's the whole goal. Because we have these outside collaborations, we don't have to have a cook because our meals are provided. So therefore, that's a whole salary that I can redirect into the education. Because you can feed children, that's great. But if you're not feeding them and educating them, it's still going to be a lacking somewhere. So
Yeah.
we're covering all of those needs. I encourage people. I usually do 30 minutes a day, whether it's walking or meditating or just doing something that I like to do. That's my stress reliever. Of course, traveling. We love to travel. I was looking at a little quick getaway. Anytime we're off, the center is closed for different school holidays. Like next week, we just found that they're going to be closed on Friday and Monday. And so like we can get away for Thursday, Friday, come back Saturday. We got to be to Hoboken on Saturday night. We can go somewhere, even if it's for 2 days. So
Yeah.
little quick getaways and having that downtime. And then at the end of the day, um, leaving work at work. When I was working both jobs, I was forced to bring work at home in some situation, some time period. But now when I come home, work is left there at the center, and I pick it back up when I get back, to the center. And so I just learned really to balance off. And then also I operate off of a to-do list or a prioritized list. So if it's stuff that I know I have until, say, June to do, I may start dibbing and dabbing, working in it, in May, so I can have a slow process to get it done. And I realized that if it doesn't have to be done by Friday, I can wait, because sometimes people try to overcrowd their brain or overstress their brain. They have 3 months to do something. They wait to the last minute. That's stress. They try to do it as soon as they get it. That's stress too. So I've learned and mastered that balance. Because if not, I would be completely stressed out. But definitely having some downtime, travel, explore the world, um, and if you can take 20 to 30 minutes a day of just self care, do it. I mean, it works wonders in my life. It really does.
It's critical for mental health as well because
Yes.
when you're
Correct.
wearing so many hats, you're bound to burn out.
Hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
One thing I noticed with doing the interview, one, obedience. Obedience is very important. You gotta
Correct.
begin to trust your intuition. You gotta begin
Hmm.
to trust the voice, the inner
Hmm.
voice that you're hearing. You gotta begin to trust yourself. And that's what when he's saying God to someone, that might be your intuition. That might be your heart. That might be uh,
Right.
that nudge that is in you that tell you
Hmm.
to do
Hmm.
something, and just obeying that nudge,
And
that
it may
small.
look stupid to the
Yeah,
next
it might look
person.
stupid,
It
and
does,
it
right.
might, it could be something so small, so simple, because that's how God works. He speaks subtle and so softly to you, and you gotta begin to obey that. And so I want to ask you one question: what's the one thing about you that few people know?
Mm,
One thing about me that a few people know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Contrary to most belief, my wife always like, nah, whatever. I am really a shy person.
Really?
Um, Most don't
See,
believe
we
that.
didn't know that either.
Most don't believe that. I've just learned that in my professional life, I have to, speak when I need to speak, and then of course in my church role, I have to speak when I need to speak. But if it was up to me, I will literally be the back behind the scene person. And I'll be content and satisfied with that. Not that I'm dummying myself down. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'll socialize, because I have to network and everything like that. But yeah, I if I go to an event, I'm fine, literally just sitting
Behind the
and,
scenes.
and and being there, just being there, basically being there, being seen and not heard. Like I'm fine with that. Yeah.
So just, I mean, you've said a lot, and we're winding down the
Yes.
interview. What would you really tell your younger self, with everything that has happened in your life? I believe you're in your 40s now, and
Correct.
looking back when you were 10, I'm sure this is with the life you're living now is beyond your wildest dreams. What would you have told your younger self to do?
You know, I I guess I would tell my younger self probably to do it again. And why I said that, because years ago, um, my overall goal was to be a special ed teacher. And I know I wanted to open up a learning center. I was saying when I retire, but things happen. And I was in a near fatal car accident when I first started going to school. And what happened was I ended up didn't have any feeling on my right side for like 18 months, and I had to get a surgery on my hand, and I was able to write on my right hand anymore for a long period of time. I had a lot of nerve damage and so on, and so I was like, well, you know what? Let me switch my major to sociology, because at least that way I can get a job. If I be disabled, I can get a job. I don't have to stand on the right on the chalkboard. Just thinking at the current situation, not realizing the master plan that God already had for my life. And so come back full circle, back to education, back to the learning center, but still able to use the other educational experience that I did obtain for various levels of education. Because sometimes people just think that education is just inside school. But when you host workshops and you do therapy and other things of that nature, that's all a part of education as well. So I would tell my younger self, um, the focus more on saving, building earlier collaborations and partnerships, as well as the importance of credit management.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
that's very important because
Hmm.
I I have a saying: cash is king, but credit is
Right.
queen.
Hmm.
And go back to when you play chess. The most important piece on the chessboard is the queen.
Right.
You give away the queen, checkmate. You
Yeah.
game is over, and that's how I see credit. And so by understanding credit, by knowing
Right.
that it's because you can leverage your credit to get going with your business, to
Exactly.
start your real estate journey, to whatever you want to do. You can leverage your credit, and then eventually move over to cash if you want to. But you can
Exactly.
always
Hmm.
leverage other people's money to get started,
Yeah.
especially when you started from the ground zero. You started with no money, but guess
Hmm.
what? That credit that you had, that you took care of, you got an eight
That's the
hundred
money for you.
seven. Yeah, that can move
Hmm.
mountains. You can get qualified for like $10,000 and twenty
Exactly.
thousand
Easily.
dollars off a credit card, business credit cards, and different things like that. So your credit is very important. And another thing I like what you say, that education could be from anything. It don't have to be traditional. It could be
University of
non-traditional.
life is a good one.
Yeah, just
Right.
taking just
Right. Right.
just taking a course or a business course or whatever. It don't have to be traditional education all the time. You could just
Hmm.
go to a different a course or webinar or
Yeah. Right.
training,
Right.
or buy a course that's cheaper than your traditional education. And so I like that you said you always wanted to be know you wanted to own your own learning center, but then
Right.
everything that you're doing today, did you see yourself doing what you're doing today?
Yes.
You did.
Yeah, this
That's
has been my
great.
goal. My god sister, she passed away a few years ago, and even through high school, going back to the early '90s, it that has always been our conversations about me opening up a learning center. I was always an advocate, even still now, I'm a strong advocate for education and understanding that people may not go as far as I have gone with education, but get some type of education certificate or whatever they have underneath your belt experience because it will help you in the long haul and just like I said to have those connections. So this is where, at least as far as the educational part of our program, this is where I seen myself as a young man, a young boy, doing this. So most of my experiences, even growing up, having youth summer jobs, were always at somebody's preschool or educational facility and everything like that. And so it's just in my heart to educate and teach people. And it's been great. It's really been really, I'll say, transformative because as it relates to the church, I'm a hooper preacher, but I also like to teach people, and I teach our we teach our ministers and preachers. It's okay to hoop if you want to hoop, but you need to make sure they have some definitions defined, some words defined, and some other reference scriptures and so on like that. So therefore, when they're going through their private studies, it's just like school. I don't want to be, that teacher where you're just talking and you're teaching and a student is not able to take down the notes so they can go back to review because when it's time for a test, now they don't know nothing. You didn't give them an opportunity to ask questions, to write down notes, to have, real life experience or examples to make it relational and so on. So teaching is a whole skill all by itself outside of the lesson plan. So I've definitely learned that over the years, and I implement that not just in the business aspect, but as well as the church and even inside of the community. When we do community outreach and so on, that every opportunity is a teachable moment and it's up
Yes.
to you to let it be a pleasant, teachable one. Because we probably all had teachers who was like, I remember when I was at Ryder, I had a psychology elective, and the teacher was always late and always had an excuse and always gave all of this homework. And I was like, I do not like psychology. You know, I got a whole master's down in psychology. So it's like, based off that negative experience, I made a conscious decision that I don't want to be known as a person working as a professional that have those traits. If that works for them, that's them, but that's not going to be me to the best of my ability and with the Lord's help. And so I'm here. I'm here today. I'm grateful for what God has done. I'm the first generation of on my mother's side, and I believe on my father's side too, have who have earned the level of education that I have acquired. We do have many business owners and at different capacity, different industries on both sides. And one thing I realize is this: that it runs through the blood on both sides of my family. You know, among other things too. But the choice is yours as an individual. Do you want to focus on the negative stuff that's running through your bloodline and operate that way, or do you want to change and you be the change agent to
Agent.
create a new pathway, of life? So now to see the next generation, my children, my nieces, my nephews, and other cousins and so on, to see them going to trade school or college and stuff like that, it really does my heart good. I didn't do this all on my own, right? As others who have gone to school too on both sides of my family, but at least I played a part and still am playing a part. So I'm so grateful for that opportunity.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Mahatma Gandhi says, "Be the change you want to see," and you've done exactly that. You've geared your life in a way that you're the change, and people are looking up to you,
Right.
even within your family, to see, you know what, if he was able to become a PhD doctor, why can't I be? So that's
Exactly.
awesome. Just another question: how would you like to be remembered?
I
Say,
would
say
say
this is your
simple.
say this is your last day on earth, and
Yeah.
we're running your life up, and the Lord says, "Boy, it's your time to go home,"
Right.
and
I
we
would
are speaking
simply.
at your funeral, and we're saying, "This is Mr. Bishop."
Yeah, I would simply say that I believe um just the change agent. And the reason why I would say that, yesterday I had the privilege of one of my elementary school students. He wasn't in my class, but he was a student when I taught elementary years ago. He graduated yesterday from uh what is it, Kane University. And they had a dinner for him last night for got his bachelor's degree in psychology. I'm like, yeah, I like psych majors, you know. And it was just so awesome because when he sent me a message today, and he simply said, thank you because you stuck by me since elementary school, and now I'm graduated. I graduated yesterday from college, and you're still sticking with me. And sometimes you know you're doing those things, but you never realize the impact that you have on someone's life into these moments like that. And so that's really my goal. And I told those same students, that was my first time really teaching. I'm going to follow y'all through your life. And so to have 20 something years old, years later, we're still connected. And now to see the progression, and not just him and others who have graduated before him too, to see that we still have that connection, still have the respect, for each other and everything. And sometimes people, they become adults, and I would just raise old school. If you older than me, even if you're a family member, even if you're not an aunt or an uncle, I call you cousin by your first name because you're my elder. And so sometimes these days you have students that I see with people, and they call them by their first name because I'm an adult, you're an adult. But to have that respect that they still call me Mr. Boyd, you know, it's just an amazing experience. So just to be that change agent, if I can
Agent.
just change one life, that life can change somebody else, to let them know, just like this young man last night, that he was also the first generation in his family to graduate with a
Right.
4-year degree. And now he's going back in September to get his master's degree. And
Mm.
then after that, he's planning to get his psych degree, to be a physician assistant. So it really did my heart great joy just to see that I had a part to play. I can't take the whole credit, but I had a
Oh.
part to play in the upbringing and the successfulness of this young man's life. And I also wanted to say this too, with the Smith Family Foundation. Far as the organization, my mentor is their executive director, Miss Catherine Nunnally. I call her Coach Nunnally, and she has played a phenomenal and still yet play a phenomenal part in our organizational life for our nonprofit sector. And she has connected us with so many awesome people, awesome people too. And we would have not been where we're at now without the help of God, of course, but also with her guidance and her other staff and so on like that. So on top of Andre Williams with the LLC and with the preschool and so on, Miss Catherine Nunnally from the Smith Family Foundation, and her team and her other collaborative efforts, they have helped us to get where we're at now. But once again, you got to remain humble and teachable,
Yes.
and you can achieve greater than what we have, you know. And like I
Yes.
said, there's enough out there for everybody, so it ain't no need to be jealous or spiteful and hateful, because you don't, sometimes people don't understand the story, they don't understand the process, they see the
Mm.
noun, but they don't know what it took to get you here. And I just believe, and I know in my heart, that everything that we have achieved, we started from the ground up. We didn't
Mm.
inherit any money. No one gave us, real money to do everything from the church to the business and everything we're doing now. We started this from the ground up. So if we can do it with the help of God and with the help of other people, you can do the same thing and greater.
Beautiful.
Yes, I like that. Yes. You know, this was a powerful
Whew,
interview, and we're
yeah.
coming down
Wow.
towards the end. And one thing, I'm just keeping the title could be of this episode, uh, building two successful businesses in COVID.
Yeah, because that's what it was, really.
Oh my
All
God.
this
Yeah,
was done during
yeah, that's what it
COVID. All
was.
this
Yeah.
was done during COVID. And so I'm like, wow, this is amazing. But we're coming down to the end. We want to come down and ask you 5 questions, 5 quick questions
Okay.
that you can answer on the spot. You know, and we
All
call
right.
this segment Fab Five. Fab Five. If you watch basketball, you watch college basketball,
Okay.
you remember back in the days in the early '90s with Michigan University with the Fab Five brothers boys.
Right.
Dennis, Chris Webber and Jaden Rose, and they had this swag, this style to them that brought to the game. They changed the game because they 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 went from wearing short shorts to long shorts,
Right.
and they coined the phrase or the name Fab Five. And so we phrased this
Okay.
Fab Five, our Fab Five questions that we want to ask each interview these questions just to see what they're thinking, what swag they bring into these questions. And so I would like to ask you one simple question though.
Okay.
What are your favorite book you have read or you might be reading right now?
Okay. So I don't have the author information in front of me, but my favorite book is a book that was suggested to us while we were in the Forever Forward Fellowship, with the Smith Family Foundation, and it's called Lead Like Jesus.
Ooh,
Okay.
okay.
Lean like
Lead
Jesus.
like Jesus.
So
Correct.
you can easily just put that in Google or Amazon, and probably the book can probably come up.
Yes.
Lean
Uh
like
huh.
Jesus, and that's
Correct.
your favorite book. I like that. Yes.
And then also the skills that you think people need today to make it in life. What maybe 2 or 3 skills you think everybody needs?
I would definitely say effective communication, because sometimes people think if I send a text, if I send an email, some things need to be discussed. I say eyeball to eyeball. And some things can be discussed over the phone. And then also time management is definitely crucial.
Yeah.
That's good. He not the first one that said
Well,
communication.
communication. I think everybody should have
Everybody should
communication.
have communication. Then time management. I
Because
like that.
a lot gets lost in
Yes.
communication if it's not
Correct.
done properly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I agree. And so the next question is, why do you think people give up, fail, or stop pursuing what they was doing?
I think they give up or fail because they don't prioritize the list. And that's one thing in the midst of me working a full time and doing this and plus ministry, I had to prioritize what my to do list look like. And by doing that, it has saved me a lot of stress, a lot of frustration. What I can do today is always tomorrow if I wake up, and just really organize, being organized and prioritizing.
Yes, that's so true. Very important.
And being such a busy man, what are your hobbies? Like it seems like your social life is down the drain. It's all professional, professional. I'm
Yeah,
sure you let you what you relax at some point. So what are those hobbies?
right. So one of the most things that I love to do, I love walking. Um,
Walking.
Walking is so relaxing. It's so inspiring. It gives me the slow pace that I need to observe. Because sometimes when you drive, right, if you're the driver, you can go down the same road 20 times a day. And by
Yeah.
you walking, you're looking, you're observing, you're listening, and so on. And so with that, that literally helps relax me. And funny true fun, I guess they say fun fact is anything dealing with numbers
Ooh,
is
okay.
relaxing to me.
Wow.
On top of traveling and planning out trips and stuff like that. But those are my top two go-to places. So if I have like a stressful moment, I need to walk or I need to figure out a mathematical strategy, and then I'm fine.
Oh my
Um,
God.
yeah,
The first part, I agree. The second part,
that's
shows
my
how
fun
different
fact of
we
the
are.
day.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
And I like that because you said walking, because that also
Mhm.
leads to opportunity, because you could look at properties that you, potential properties
Exactly.
that you might
Yeah.
want to buy or whatever.
Mhm.
You might,
Correct.
oh, you know what, that's a nice property right there. I might
Right.
check it out. So yeah, the last question though, because we want to be able to look back at this episode, this interview, and say, you know what, Mr. Bishop, brother, friend, my friend, you know what?
Right.
He said it, and he's doing it. And
Mhm.
so we want to ask you, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Because we want to look back and at this episode and like, you know what?
He did it.
He did it,
And went beyond.
and went beyond. Yes. So
Because
where do
Right.
you?
we know that's going to happen.
Yes.
Correct. Wow. Well, definitely, I would say within 5 years, I would definitely see myself or see us collectively um, owning at least 10 to 15 properties, an apartment complex, as well as other schools and a few group homes throughout the Mercer County area. Um, Probably about maybe 35, 40 staff, full time staff within that period of time. And then, of course, wealthy, but still humble and
Yes.
teachable.
Yes. Yes.
Of
Yes. Yes.
course, of
Yes.
course.
Are you looking for any partnerships?
Yeah, and definitely more partnerships and collaborations. I mean, there's always ways that we could find ways to collaborate in various components and everything like that, though.
Yes. I like that.
Well, thank you so much for giving us the time.
Thank you both for
Yes.
This
you.
was so insightful. I mean, we learned so much and we were so
Thank
inspired and
you.
encouraged. But we also want to say to our viewers, if you have any comments or questions towards Mr. Bishop, please just put them in the comment section. I'm sure when this episode airs, he will look at it and will answer back to you.
Correct.
And as you've heard for yourself, he's not a man who's selfish. He
Yes.
shares a lot of information.
Mhm.
But also, just a reminder for those who haven't subscribed to our channel, please do subscribe and share this episode. There are many people who are going to learn and be inspired by it. So if you know anyone who wants to be any of the above that Mr. Bishop is, or wants to get into it, or is currently in it and just needs some
Right.
source of inspiration, please do share this with them. You can find us on social media, myself at Lady Siza One on Instagram and
Yes, you can find me at Get Inspired by LJ, as well as if you're looking to join the community, you're welcome to join the community where we're able to learn, grow, network at nextopportunitywindow.com. Yes, so join the community. Let's get together. Let's network. Let's collaborate and let's learn from each other because we all to win. And so I would like to ask you, Mr. Bishop, where people can get to know you how they can network with you, how they can collaborate with you, how they can become a mentee, so that you can begin to, of course, after this episode, of course, it probably be for a fee. You can't do everyone. We gotta have to work that out so that he can establish a course, or something, so that you can have access to Mr. Bishop,
Right.
so that he can teach you how he's doing with the real estate, as well as
Hmm.
the learning experience. So how they can get in touch with you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I everybody has my personal cell. I have a job cell, but they always call it my personal cell. So my personal cell is 609-638-4164. six
Can you
zero
just say that
nine
again,
six
please?
three eight 4164. Or you can email me lboyd, BOYD, at helpself.org. Or if you're on Facebook, my name, just my first and last name, Lawrence Boyd, on Facebook. And you can send me a message and we can definitely set something up to help and network with each other.
Yes,
Yes,
awesome.
I like that. Yes. So, like I said, it was a great episode. We appreciate you for coming on, spending this time with us, and it
Thank
was
you
a
so much.
great experience. And we definitely gotta have you again. We definitely gotta have you come back and share some updates
And
over
maybe
the
Yes,
and maybe
show.
that'd be
come back with
great.
the wifey,
Yeah, maybe
because
come back with the wifey.
we
Yeah.
need that woman's touch as well.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
And she's doing some amazing things too outside of the church. She had started a nonprofit, so she's gonna be doing a launch sometime this year. It's called True to Self. And so she's mentoring some ladies in and outside of the church and hosting various community events and so on like that. So she, has her role in the business as well as a role in the church, but we want to make sure that she has her own identity, as well, and what she wants to do and loves to do outside of the ministry and the business as well. So we're pushing her and her nonprofit as well on this year to do an excellent launching soon. So stay tuned for that as well.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
beautiful. We'll definitely like to talk to her as well and hear what's her plans and how that's going. So on
Hmm.
that note, we just want to say thank you,
Yes,
thank you,
thank
thank
you.
you
Thank you. Thanks to
to
both of
all
Yes.
you.
viewers, and thank you to you. Take care and
And
Okay,
we
bye
see
bye.
you
no
in the next
problem. Thank
video.
y'all.
Take
Uh huh.
care. Bye bye.